Why was everyone so worried about Jolene?
It was out of character for her just to disappear.
Around the time she had gotten off work, there was no contact with anybody, no activity after that whatsoever.
As an investigator, these type of situations do raise a lot of red flags.
I would say at that point in time, he was the number one suspect.
I care about her.
What were you thinking when you saw the video?
It was kind of one of those aha moments in the case.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Fernandina Beach, Florida. Located on Amelia Island, the area is known for its peaceful and serene living. But when a young mother suddenly vanished into thin air, the city became the center of one of the most bizarre investigations anyone had ever seen. It was Monday, May 14th, when the mother of 34-year-old Jolene Cummings walked into the Nassau County Sheriff's Office to report her daughter missing. She hadn't spoken with Jolene in a few days, and no one could get in touch with her.
It was very unusual for her not to pick up a phone if she was called, to answer texts.
Jolene's mother said the last time they spoke was on Friday, when they talked about their plans together for the upcoming weekend. Sunday was a special day for both of them. What was Jolene celebrating that weekend?
It was both Mother's Day and her birthday, and she was very much looking forward to spending time with her kids that weekend.
Jolene's mom said she first began to worry when she learned Jolene had never picked up her kids from her estranged husband's home.
When she failed to show for that meeting, her estranged husband took their children to her mother's house, and that's really when her mother got concerned.
And then, when Jolene didn't show up to her own birthday party and Mother's Day dinner, her mother's gut told her something was terribly wrong.
It was out of character for her just to disappear.
Everyone agreed it seemed odd, and the sheriff's department launched an investigation.
I just obtained as much information as I could. What kind of vehicle she was driving, any kind of bank account information, any social media.
Detectives also wanted to try to pinpoint the last time anyone saw or heard from Jolene. Police learned that she was a hairstylist and had worked on Saturday the 12th.
She was working her regular shift at Tangle Salon and supposed to close around 5, 6 o'clock that day.
Detectives went to the salon and interviewed people there. They all said Jolene had been in a happy mood the last time they saw her. She had closed up with a co-worker named Jennifer Seibert. Sergeant Harrington called her.
Before I even got a chance to try to explain myself or explain any further about Jolene being reported missing, she went into a long explanation about how she could not be involved in a police investigation.
He thought it was odd, but not out of the norm in his line of work.
It's certainly not unusual for me to find people who do not like to deal with police officers. Some people just don't want to be a part of the investigation.
The sergeant moved on. He learned that Jolene's SUV was gone too. It wasn't in the salon's parking lot. Police created a flyer and asked the public for help in finding her.
So the sheriff's office put out BOLOs, which is be on the lookout for Jolene's vehicle and for anyone who had any information or had talked to Jolene.
We released that both on the sheriff's office website and to all the local media and news outlets.
Jolene's disappearance made no sense, and when her cell phone and financial records came back, the mystery deepened. So when was the last time that you found activity on Jolene's accounts?
It was just immediately around the time that she had gotten off work on that Saturday afternoon. There was no contact with anybody, no activity after that whatsoever.
Sergeant Harrington went to Jolene's home to see if he could get any clues from there. Her parents had the key and let him inside. What he discovered was troubling. So what did you see when you walked in the home?
When I went into Jolene's home, I noticed that there was quite a bit of disarray in the home. There was damage to the walls. It looked like somebody had punched holes in the sheetrock. There were cabinet doors that were hanging by one hinge.
Sergeant Harrington wondered if Jolene had made it home, only for something to have happened to her there.
Caused me quite a bit of concern because it looked like there had been a violent incident in the house. I didn't see any type of blood or anything, but there had definitely been a lot of damage and vandalism to the home.
Detectives quickly turned their attention to Jolene's estranged husband, Jason Cummings.
It was not a easy divorce. There were some problems. There was some custody issues.
As an investigator, these type of situations do raise a lot of red flags.
Police wondered if a fight over custody of their kids could have led to something more sinister.
This is someone that probably has the capacity to do violence.
Detectives investigating the disappearance of Jolene Cummings brought her estranged husband, Jason Cummings, in for an interview. He admitted that things hadn't been great between them, but he said he would never hurt her.
That's my kid's mom, to be honest with you. I mean, you've heard all the before, but I'm telling you right now. I'm probably a man sitting in front of you that you've never seen before, because what I do take serious is my family.
Jason said that despite all their issues, Jolene was a great parent, and he was worried about her. He gave police a detailed timeline for Saturday into Sunday and agreed to let investigators search his car. So did you find anything in the car that connected Jason to Jolene's disappearance?
There was no blood, no hair, anything that was suspicious in nature. And when we checked out his alibi, we were able to confirm that he was where he said he was for the weekend.
Jason was eliminated as a suspect. Before he left the interview room, he asked Sergeant Harrington if police had spoken with a new man in Jolene's life.
I got text messages from people saying he's bad news.
The guy Jolene had been dating was named Jason G. And not only did he have a criminal record, but he was currently wanted by police for a parole violation. And there was more. Not one, but two women had restraining orders against him for domestic violence. And as it turned out, Jolene had her issues with him as well.
There had been a recent domestic incident between her and her boyfriend at the house.
Sergeant Harrington found a report filed just 3 days before Jolene disappeared. The report explained the damage he had seen at Jolene's house. The couple had gotten into an argument, and G turned violent.
He became very upset and started breaking the cabinets in the home and punching the walls.
So I'm sure you were worried then that if Jason had been involved in Jolene's disappearance, that she might be in harm's way.
Obviously, this is a person with a temper. This is someone that probably has the capacity to do violence.
And to make matters worse, when investigators went to speak with G, it appeared as if he had taken off.
I would say at that point in time, he was the number one suspect.
It was an all-hands-on-deck to find G, and eventually one of his own friends gave up his location and police moved in.
He did not go peacefully, so to speak. He didn't fight, but once law enforcement realized he was in the home, they had to go in and bring him out, and he was found hiding underneath a bunch of cardboard boxes in one of the bedrooms of the home.
He was arrested for the probation violation and taken to the sheriff's office for an interview. G insisted he hadn't been in hiding because he did something to Jolene. He said it was because he knew there was a warrant for his arrest, and he didn't want to go back to jail.
I don't know where she's at, man. I care about her. She is one of the main things in my life that makes me even want to be able to be here. I love her. I honestly love her. I would never hurt her.
Investigators were still suspicious, but they had nothing to prove Jolene had even been the victim of a crime. Then, just 2 days later, someone reported finding an SUV that they believed belonged to Jolene Cummings. What happened next would change the course of the investigation.
And at that point in time, I was thinking this may be a homicide investigation, not just a missing person.
After days of searching for Jolene Cummings, a man called the sheriff's office and said he believed he saw her SUV in a Home Depot parking lot just 2 miles from Tangle's salon.
The sheriff's office went to a parking lot at Home Depot and confirmed that that was Jolene's vehicle.
There was no sign of the 34-year-old and nothing in the SUV that could lead police to her. But detectives noticed there was a surveillance camera from a nearby bank facing the parking lot. They pulled the footage and saw Jolene's SUV being driven into the lot at 1:17 a.m. on May 13th.
Which would have been Sunday morning after she worked on Saturday. We were able to see the vehicle being parked where we found it, and we were able to see just one person exit the vehicle.
The video was too grainy to identify anyone, but detectives could see that the person was dressed in all black clothing.
We could also tell just by the stature of the person that it did not appear to be Jolene.
As the person walked away, investigators knew that there was only one business in that direction that would have been open at that hour, the local gas station and mini mart, which also had surveillance cameras.
When I looked at the security video, it was kind of one of those aha moments.
The person in all black was Jolene's co-worker, Jennifer Seibert, the one who didn't want to speak with police. What was the reaction when everybody saw who it was?
We were shocked that it was one of her co-workers. That was not the person that we were thinking may have been involved with her disappearance.
Not only could they see Seibert on camera, as they looked closer, it appeared as if she had been in a fight.
She had injuries to her face, including underneath one of her eyes, what looked like a large fingernail scratch. And at that point in time, I was thinking this may be a homicide investigation, not just a missing person.
Detectives were now on the hunt for Jennifer Seibert, but finding her wasn't going to be easy. The salon employee said she never came back to work. And when investigators went to the home she listed on her job application, they discovered she had told another lie.
I went to that address in Fernandina Beach, and not only was she not there, that address was non-existent.
As they continued to search for her, Sergeant Harrington sent a crime scene unit to do a forensic examination of the salon, using luminol to see if there was any blood evidence not visible to the naked eye. And what did they find?
The entire salon more or less just lit up like a Christmas tree. There was blood on the floors, there was blood on the wall. You could physically see in some areas what looked like somebody who used a mop to clean up.
The amount of blood discovered led Sergeant Harrington to a heartbreaking conclusion.
There was no doubt in my mind that not only was I working a homicide, but that Tango Salon was where the homicide occurred.
As everyone tried to process that reality, Jennifer Seibert's phone was tracked to a nearby rest stop. She was inside her car, and when she came out, detectives noticed the obvious injuries to her face. Once again, she tried to deflect when asked about Jolene.
Jennifer had made the statement to me that her and Jolene were not close, that they weren't friends, they would only work together a short period of time. So I replied to her, so have you ever been in her vehicle? Have you ever driven her vehicle? And she said, no. Like I told you, we're not close.
The surveillance video proved she was lying, and the sergeant knew he needed to get her into custody before she either fled or hurt anyone else. He arrested her for grand theft auto for being in possession of Jolene's SUV without her permission. Jolene's car was searched, and inside, investigators found evidence that tied Jennifer to Jolene's murder.
There was a kit that a hairdresser would have with scissors in it. When you took a close look at the scissors, if you looked at where the two pieces of the scissors are held together with a screw, there was a Phillips head screw there, and in the very head of the screw, there was some dark color substance. We tested that substance, and not only did it come back to be blood, it come back to be Jolene's blood.
But that wasn't all.
And probably the most chilling thing was a Walmart receipt from Fernandina Beach that had some items that were obviously not just used for cleanup, but also likely used to dismember Jolene's body.
Investigators discovered surveillance video from a dumpster behind Tangle's salon on May the 12th, which they believed showed what happened to Jolene's body.
And we were also able to observe Jennifer Seibert taking several bags, very, very heavy bags, out to the dumpster. And it wasn't just once, it was several times all throughout the night she was doing this.
Jennifer Seibert was charged with the murder of Jolene Cummings. Investigators now knew the who, but no one could understand the why. That is, until they sat down to interview her and she dropped a bombshell that no one could have ever predicted.
He told me, well, I might as well go ahead and tell you because when you run my fingerprints, you're going to know. She said, my name is not Jennifer Seibert. My name is Kimberly Kessler.
It turned out Kimberly Kessler was a missing person from Butler, Pennsylvania, and she had spent most of her adult life living under false identities.
I was born in May of 1968, May 9th. I am 50 years old. I've been running from the FBI for over 25 years. I've been living under this particular alias since 1999.
It was a real-life version of the movie Catch Me If You Can. Kimberly Kessler had gone from one alias to the next, proud of how she had hidden her true identity for so long.
Are you going to write a book one day?
I don't even know if anyone believes it. But the FBI has a record, so you know it's true, okay? Look it up. It sounds like a bunch of crap. Look it up. They have a record. It's true.
It quickly became clear to detectives that the only thing that really mattered to Kessler was leading this secret life.
I believe she enjoyed knowing that she was able to fool everybody throughout the years, that she was smarter than everybody else.
But there was one person who wasn't fooled. Detectives learned about a conversation Jolene had the day before she was murdered.
She had called Kimberly Kessler out and said, you're not who you say you are. You're fake. I'm going to find out who you are.
Investigators believe Kessler was so afraid of Jolene learning her true identity that she murdered her in cold blood. Kimberly Kessler was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. The key to preventing workplace violence is to recognize the warning signs and involve the appropriate resources as soon as possible. Timely notification and documentation of potential problems is essential. In confrontational situations, it is important to prioritize your safety over the need to win an argument. De-escalate, remove yourself from the situation. Pay attention to your intuition about people and environments. If a situation feels unsafe, it is best to withdraw and seek a safer environment. The Workplace Violence Prevention Hotline can be reached at 1-877-987-3747. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe. What happened to her?
They ended up just throwing her out of her vehicle and shooting and killing a mother of three in cold blood right in the middle of a busy street.
Police located a woman face down and suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the head and face area. A 12-gauge deer slug was located in the vehicle.
And this is something that you don't typically see in Omaha.
They checked into if someone possibly followed her home. Was there possibly a side relationship taking place?
It really put a lot of fear in people, especially in Northwest Omaha where the crime occurred.
Video surveillance, fingerprint evidence, and purchase records. The victims were all tied to one person.
He was a product of the system who was just thrown in a box. When his sentence ended, they let him out to wreak havoc. When police start putting together all the evidence, they realize that this is a killing spree that's happening, and Andrea Krueger was the fourth victim. first time you saw his mugshot, that to many people was the face of a killer.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Omaha, Nebraska. A wife and mother driving home was ambushed and murdered in her car. Police didn't know if the killer was a stranger or someone she knew, but what they uncovered tied the murder to the most notorious killing spree in Omaha history. Last call in Omaha. A hardworking bartender on her way home stopped at a drive-thru restaurant for fast food.
Just after 2 a.m., police received a 911 call regarding shots fired and a vehicle speeding away from an intersection in southwest Omaha.
I need a supervisor. I'm going to need a squad to this location. I have a female face down on the street.
Control 13, party contemplator breathing.
No.
Police located a woman face down with no ID and suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the head and face area.
Her husband realizes that his wife has not come home from work, and around 6 a.m. is when he wakes up and turns the news on to see that a homicide has taken place in the neighborhood involving a female, and police are looking for help identifying this female.
So how did you wind up identifying her?
Michael was concerned for his wife's safety and ended up going to the scene since it was so close to his house. Upon arriving at the scene, Michael was able to identify the victim as his wife, Andrea Krueger. Andrea was the victim of a gunshot wound.
So initially the call came into the newsroom, but I was one of the first ones on scene the next morning. And this is something that you don't typically see in Omaha. Andrea Krueger, mother of 3, shot dead, her vehicle gone, while Krueger still left dead in that road.
Were police able to piece together how Andrea was killed?
Andrea Krueger had stopped at McDonald's on her way home after work, just miles from her house, and they followed her down 168th Street North, where they were able to get in front of her and stop her, trying to rob her, but they ended up just throwing her out of her vehicle and shooting and killing a mother of 3 in cold blood right in the middle of a busy street.
Michael asked the police if they were able to locate Andrea's car, and they stated it was not on scene. The police then put out a bolo, or be on the lookout, for Andrea's car.
Andrea Krueger's husband was in shock when he realized his children were now without a mother. There was a clock ticking to find the perpetrators who killed Andrea. Omaha police needed Michael to help retrace his wife's final moments.
Michael was taken in for questioning, and he revealed that Andrea had went into work at a local lounge called Deja Vu, where she was a bartender that night. He said the last time he had heard from her was at 12:30 while she was at work. Michael had stayed home that night to care for his 3 children as one of them was sick.
Detectives had little to go on in determining who murdered the woman. Was it a stranger or someone she knew?
They knew that Andrea was at work that night. They checked into if someone possibly followed her home. Was there possibly a side relationship taking place? Was this random? At this point, police are trying to investigate all leads.
Initially, when police are on scene, they have no idea who does this, so they always start with the people that are closest to Andrea and go from there.
It was determined that Michael and Andrea often got in arguments over financial issues, and the police were concerned that possibly this could have been a domestic-related event. When evidence did not tie Michael to the scene, police eventually then looked for any associations with ex-boyfriends or possible leads that could have been tied to Andrea.
Police did have to consider the fact that it could have been somebody who Andrea had known at the bar, or, as she was working there. Police did interview people there and found that to be uncredible.
Police scoured the city trying to find the victim's stolen car. It could hold evidence of who killed Andrea Krueger. There were few leads of where to begin looking, but then police got a break. When was it that police were able to make progress in identifying who was the murderer?
12 hours later, a tip from the neighbors in the area were able to identify the fact that the vehicle had been abandoned in the alley at approximately 3 a.m. Video revealed a male in the area trying to abandon the car. There was smoke and fire damage on the inside of the car. Along with the fire evidence from the vehicle, a 12-gauge deer slug was located in the vehicle.
Whoever had murdered Andrea tried to destroy evidence that could lead back to them. Police searched for anything that could be a clue as to who killed her, but they had their hands full. There were other victims within days of her murder. What else was going on in Omaha when Andrea was murdered?
During the time of Andrea's murder, Omaha police were dealing with a double homicide involving two victims that appeared to have been robbed at gunpoint and murdered in their vehicle, while a second murder victim was located under suspicious circumstances laying in a driveway after a night out with friends.
So how did the bullet, the slug that was found in Andrea's car, connect her murder to the others in Omaha at the time?
Evidence from multiple homicide scenes showed that the same brand and same gauge type shotgun shell was used. The type that was used was known as a deer slug, which is a large slug type projectile from a 12-gauge shotgun.
When police start putting together all the evidence, they realize that this is a killing spree that's happening, and Andrea Krueger was the fourth victim. 2 men murdered in South Omaha, another man murdered in North Omaha, and now Andrea Krueger in Northwest Omaha.
Police now believed there was a serial killer on the loose in Omaha.
As investigators continue to look further into the evidence, they realize the Jenkins family continues to come up.
A woman on her way home had been brutally shot and killed in the middle of a street in a suburban area of Omaha. Police were stymied who had murdered the mother of 3 and why. But the killer had left a ballistic fingerprint in the victim's car. It wasn't much, but it was all police had to go on.
Police are looking at the similarities between these other 3 homicides and Andrea Krueger, and they look at the kind of ammunition that was used from the deer slug of the shotgun. And at this point, they're able to track where this ammunition came from and then proceed to find who purchased this ammunition.
Investigators were able to track down the source of the ammo to a local gun store. Upon closer review of video surveillance footage, the suspect was determined to be the cousin of Nico Jenkins. That suspect's palm print was also identified at the crime scene of the double homicide that had occurred earlier that month.
Nico Jenkins was a known gang member with a long rap sheet. Strong armed robbery and shootings were his stock in trade. It appeared that the killings were possibly tied to Jenkins' crew, and they were all his relatives.
As investigators continue to look further into the evidence, they realize the Jenkins family continues to come up, and specifically Nico Jenkins is the one who continually is brought to the forefront as a possible suspect.
Through Crime Stoppers tips, video surveillance, fingerprint evidence, and purchase records, the victims were all tied to one person, and that person was Nico Jenkins.
With the cousin of Nico Jenkins in custody, police squeezed her for everything she knew about the murders. And the more she talked, the more police believed the killings were connected.
An interview revealed that the cousin and Erica went to a bar that night in an attempt to find victims for the robbery. They were able to convince the 2 victims to meet them outside the bar, and Nico was awaiting them and robbed them at gunpoint, committing murder.
Police now believed that Nico Jenkins was involved in Andrea Krueger's death. They brought him in for questioning. If Jenkins was worried about a homicide charge, he didn't show it.
Nico stated on the night of Andrea's murder that he and his sister and his uncle were all out and about looking for somebody to rob.
Homicide detectives identified Nico Jenkins as the ringleader of an Omaha crew that had murdered Andrea Krueger and 3 others. They had ballistic evidence found at all the crime scenes that was tied to Jenkins.
From the first time you saw Nico Jenkins' mugshot, it frightened everybody. That, to many people, was the face of a killer.
Once Jenkins was released after a decade in prison, police say it was only a matter of time before someone got killed.
Nico Jenkins grew up in a real crime-ridden area of Omaha, and he spent pretty much his teenage years and most of his 20s in prison, sometimes locked in confinement while in prison before being just let out and then going on this killing spree less than a month later.
Now in custody, Jenkins teased detectives that he was willing to give up his role in the killing spree. But during his interrogation, he toyed with detectives and played endless mind games.
With my history and my reputation, and this first-time testimony I've ever aided system enforcement, and everything that I'm saying is accurate. Okay.
Through interviews with others in his crew, police pieced together what happened the night that Andrea Krueger was murdered. She just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it cost Andrea her life.
Andrea leaves work, goes to a restaurant afterwards. It's in the middle of the night, and Nico Jenkins and his associates are looking for a potential victim to steal a vehicle, and they just happened to come across Andrea being alone, and they made their target on her.
Eventually, Jenkins gave it all up and told police of his involvement in the crimes, and he laid out what had occurred the night Andrea Krueger was murdered. So when you interviewed Nico, the alleged ringleader, what did you learn about Andrea's death?
Nico Jenkins admitted to his part in a 10-day homicide spree in the Omaha and surrounding areas. Nico stated on the night of Andrea's murder that he and his sister and his uncle were all out and about looking for somebody to rob.
Bartenders, and they walked out to their cars right after that, because the specific point was to get her to an isolated place.
That's when they observed Andrea leaving her work from the Deja Vu Lounge. They followed Andrea as she went to go get drive-through and then stopped her in an attempt to rob her. Nico approached the car and fired several shots into the vehicle. Andrea attempted to speed away, only making it to the intersection, where Nico then approached the car, pulled Andrea's body out of the vehicle, and left her to die in the middle of the intersection.
I know she was shot multiple times. I don't know if it was 5 or if it was, he said 3 or 4. 3 or 4 times, right?
So
it's not under 3. It's not under 3. It's not under 3.
Did Jenkins have a reason why they murdered Andrea versus just stealing and robbing the car?
Nico did come say that he was behind the murders, but he blamed it on the god Apophis, who he said made him do them. It's hard to really describe Nico Jenkins sometimes without actually watching some of the antics that he does, just trying to manipulate people into, thinking that he's crazy when he's actually not.
In spite of his perverse antics, police knew Jenkins was a killer, and they had enough to build a case against him.
When this unfortunately took place to Andrea, they were able to look at evidence and connect the different murders to each other. And once they found out that Andrea was murdered by Nico Jenkins, they were able to determine that he was involved in these other murders as well.
And what were your experiences with Nico during his incarceration as well as the court dates?
I spoke to Nico for many hours on the phone while he was in prison. We would speak face to face sometimes during court. I spoke to many of his family members as well. A lot of them said that, he was a product of the system who was just thrown away, thrown in a box. And when his sentence ended, instead of getting him the mental health that he needed, they just let him out. They let him out to wreak havoc on whoever and whatever in Omaha without any sort of supervision or any sort of, mental health help.
Nico Jenkins was charged with capital murder in the 4 deaths. Rather than face trial, he pled guilty. And how did the case wind up playing out?
Nico Jenkins ended up standing trial for all 4 homicides and were convicted on all 4 counts. Nico Jenkins was then sentenced by a judicial panel to the death sentence here in the state of Nebraska.
Therefore, this panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant.
It had a profound effect on me, having talked to him many times, but also, never left me the tragedy of the loss of Andrea Krueger, how it impacted her family. I talked to her husband multiple times, hearing all the stories of how great of a person she was, how she would help anybody, loved her family, and it was just heartbreaking to see, so many people that I had known for years, so broken because of what happened.
Was it hard for Omaha to move on after the Nico Jenkins killing spree?
Nico Jenkins is currently in custody awaiting his death sentence. And I think that it brought some closure and security to the minds of those in the Omaha area, knowing that the murderous spree of Nico Jenkins was over.
Unfortunately, taking Nico Jenkins off the streets came too late for Andrea Krueger and her family.
People were fearful of Nico Jenkins for good reason, and he is sitting on death row right now.
Police say Nico Jenkins, the ticking time bomb felon, never should have been released from prison, but no one cared until his killing spree took the lives of 4 people. He's now on death row, still trying to overturn his conviction and blame the system for his crimes. The murder of Andrea Krueger proves once again that releasing violent felons unsupervised only results in more deaths. And now it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. While nothing can ensure your safety 100% of the time, it is best to be situationally aware and prepared to act quickly in the event of danger. Trust your instincts. If you sense trouble, get away as soon as possible. And while in public, keep a lookout for individuals acting or behaving suspiciously. If someone makes you uncomfortable, distance yourself as much as possible and move to safety. Avoid shortcuts and stick to well-lit streets and populated areas. Keep valuables out of sight. Don't flash large amounts of money or jewelry. And if you fear you're being followed, call 911 and drive to a safe location like a police station or fire department. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For everyone here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.